Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bhairavi Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess. I have been finding the right words to say this, and it's still not easy to say. But I'm frankly shocked at the way in which people are carrying out the debates with respect to the March of Our Lives movement. Now, this is not something that is limited to those on the left wing or the right wing. I see this happening across the board. So, this isn't a pro-liberal or a pro-Republican video. This is about everyone. And it also extends to those who follow me, to peers who do similar work that I do, who teach about different aspects of spirituality. I see that the way the discourse is being held is actually causing more harm than good. The world has changed significantly with technology, with the fact that everyone with Google and Wikipedia thinks that they can become an expert overnight, with the fact that opinion and unverified news can actually be much more powerful, be much more significant, be much more reported than things that actually happened. And again, across the political spectrum. This isn't just limited to one person. So in the comments, please stay away from spewing hate or vitriol either side. This is not about that. And the thing that really bothers me the most is when I hear individuals, well-meaning, well-intentioned individuals, who try to dismiss the whole movement as an operation of the deep state, as paid crisis actors, as some kind of a conspiracy theory. You know what? Given how weird the world has been, it might even be true. I don't know. I don't claim to know this. But what I do know is that the way that discourse is being used to delegitimize the children and their voices is doing so much more harm than what proponents of these arguments think is actually happening. Forget about the deep state controlling people. You're already controlling them the moment you dehumanize children who speak out as mere puppets. When we talk about trauma processing for adults, for individuals who are consciously pursuing a spiritual path, one of the worst things we talk about is how people get re-traumatized. Now, there are different approaches to spiritual facilitation. Some confront you, some are very gentle. That's a different topic. But when you are ignored, when you are told that your trauma never existed, or that you don't have the right to speak about it, you're actually causing a lot more harm than good. So moving the focus, there's one point I want to make before moving the focus to something else in this video. This morning I woke up with a well-intentioned woman sending me a video of David Hogg, one of the activists. And she was telling me there's something more to this. Okay, there might be. But the thing that I really got pissed off about was about her assertion saying it's in the eyes. So I watched videos of this kid, and I've seen idiots, absolute idiots, make comments such as, anyone with the knowledge of neuro-linguistic programming knows that he's rolling his eyes because he's remembering his lines. That is fucking bullshit. As someone who has worked with thousands of high-risk kids and teens, kids who were exposed to gun culture, drugs, sexual abuse, turbulent domestic dynamics, I can tell you for a fact that when someone is traumatized, you cannot expect them to look normal. Some people do not show trauma on their skin. Some people will, put a perfect mask and you have no idea what's happening inside of them. And some people can't do that. Their eyes glaze over. They forget details. They forget, where they were. They forget even if it was day or night. Some people remember these details obsessively. Some people get very politicized. Some people crumple up in a corner. It applies to adults and children. So for people using psychobabble theories, understand that you are causing more harm. Unless you are an experienced trauma counselor, unless you are someone with the qualifications to do so, Please stop using legitimate symptoms and signs of someone who's just survived seeing their friend get killed and being afraid for their life as a means of delegitimizing them. Again, I don't take issue with the conspiracy theorists. The world is weird enough that they might be right. I don't know. But I take issue when someone pretends to be an armchair psychologist and re-traumatizes the victim. That's happening way too much. Now, I would also like to talk about the power of projective identification. Shout out to my friend Aja Zola Christine for posting this. And she's got this perfect little meme that I think, I'm going to share as well, that I think really just sums it up for people and makes it really simple. I'm going to see if I can just show it to you on my computer real quick. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just going to read it out, all right? Projective identification occurs when a person identifies with uncomfortable feelings that have been projected onto them by someone else. So we see this all the time in parent-child dynamics. In fact, what's happening with respect to the kids is a massive mirror of dynamics that happen in the home. Instead of actually admitting that the parent may have done something wrong, they project their anxieties, they project their fears, they project their worries and insecurities, onto kids. And then kids actually start internalizing that stuff. So for those who actually claim to be on a spiritual path of enlightenment and transcendence and God knows what else, think about what you're doing when you try to project your fears that these things are happening on the kids who are already vulnerable and hurt. And tell me what your spirituality says about it then. Again, conspiracy theories might be right, but you're still being a jackass for saying it in that way. It's fact. Now, projective identification is a concept that was actually introduced by a woman called Melanie Klein, and I'm just reading a very salient part of what a fairly good introduction to it actually. Projective identification may be used as a type of defense, a means of communicating, a route to psychological change, or even for controlling another's body and mind. So for the conspiracy theorists, what you're actually doing is already a form of mind control. It's already a form of energy hijacking. You're actually doing what you just said you were afraid of. Food for thought. Now, what I would also say is that at a practical, moving it back to the 3D, at a practical level, the way you create a generation that is so emotionally traumatized, that is politically agitated, that is on the edge, is by telling them that their words don't count. So if you are trying to create an angry young generation that is not as likely to emote itself in the public eye because it knows adults are going to tear them down, you're doing a damn fine job. Things that need to be said. Does this mean that you have to agree with what they're saying? No. Does this mean that you have to suddenly switch to the left? No. It just means that as adults, if you really want to have a public sphere in which people can be civil to each other, treat the kids like people. You don't need to agree with them in order to be decent to them. Stop trying to dehumanize them. Stop trying to empty themselves of any power, any agency that's only going to make them feel more threatened and more vulnerable. And especially if, as has been said, these are deep state agent, brainwashed, cyber machines, whatever, that's probably just going to set them off. So what do you do instead? You do what the survivors of one of the first, well, it's not exactly the first, but it was the first in its nature and scope, the first school shooting, which took place in Columbine in 1999. You look at what those guys did. They actually give a shit. They went and met these guys, and what did they ask? Are you okay? Are you taking care of yourself? That's what you do when you care. You don't try to muddy the water because you're trying to prove that you're some kind of awesome psychic or awesome conspiracy theorist or awesome political analyst. if you care, you actually try to connect with that person rather than tearing them down. And again, happens across the political spectrum. So I'm actually feeling a lot more for the kids because they haven't tried to do this. They haven't stooped to this level to dehumanize the people that they are actually speaking about. Granted, they could probably use a lot more work on their manifesto, but they are kids. They're not policymakers. And frankly, they're still doing a better job. So I know this is probably going to marginalize some of you, but like I said, people are doing this across the board. And I am not of the opinion that spirituality is some airy-fairy thing that allows you to close your eyes and stick your head in the mud. I'm going to close with a quote by Paramahansa Yogananda, the fellow who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi. Don't depend on death to liberate you from your imperfections. You are exactly the same after death as you were before. Nothing changes. You only give up the body. If you are a thief or a liar or a cheater before death, you don't become an angel merely by dying. If such were possible, then let us all go and jump in the ocean now and become angels at once. Whatever you have made of yourself thus far, so you will be hereafter. And when you reincarnate, you will bring that same nature with you. To change, you have to make the effort. This world is the place to do it. So if you are interested in becoming a compassionate, considerate, conscious person, speak with your heart and think about the influence and impact that your words are carrying to others, especially a generation of young people who are now watching ever more than before of what the adults are saying to them. So take care. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye-bye.